Hey, now welcome to the show, where the wind's blowing strong and the truth can flow. This is the good oil. Catch a vibe today with Cam Slater leading us all the way from the heart of the...
Welcome to episode 21 of the Good Oil Podcast. Geoff Upson here with me, the nefarious pothole pointer-outer.
I think there was a proliferation, the pothole penis painter was used for a little while. But hey, look, at the end of the day, I'm just another person in the community who's angry and upset about the state of the roads, the potholes, the tar bleed, the flushing, the bumps, the undulations, and obviously the speed bumps and slow speed limits, which we've had Labor Party forced upon us.
Just basically the general fuckness of Auckland's roads.
Exactly.
I used to run a contract for Manukau City back in the day.
Fixing potholes?
Fixing potholes. So I know how to fix them, and I know how to fix dig-outs. And the dig-out is a pothole that's got beyond a metre square.
Okay.
Right? So, but they don't fix them properly, and they're not auditing them properly, and this problem's just going to keep growing. We'll get more into that a little bit later. What did you do before you started being the prolific penis pothole painter?
So I've been a tradesman for most of my life. Self-employed. I've got a small, just a business, and I do property or building maintenance, small renovation jobs, and a few kitchens. I've worked on a few high-end homes as well. So I mean, it's always exciting and challenging. I'm a practical person. So, when I say that, paperwork and legal stuff and things like that, it's not something that I enjoy doing. I'm a practical person.
I prefer to have a hammer in your hand.
Yeah, or a silicon gun, and you've put in a $300,000 kitchen, and it looks like shit until you put the silicon around the edges, and then it looks okay.
Yeah.
You sort of got to make sure you do those finishing touches before the customer sees it. I've sort of transitioned from being a tradesman to sort of do paperwork, boring office work, as a politician. So all in the name of trying to fix some potholes.
Well, I mean, I was following you on Facebook when you started doing the pothole stuff, and then the council made a fatal mistake. From a PR perspective, they decided to try and prosecute you.
So. Yeah, I mean, so Auckland Transport, they could have made the road safe by fixing the potholes. It's not hard. It's quite literally their job.
It doesn't take that long to fix a pothole, right? You cut a square around it. You then seal it with some bituminous material in the bottom to stop the ingress of water. Then you fill it with the hot mix. You tamp it down and roll it, and then seal the edges. That's it. But they don't seal the edges, and so that pothole will just reappear in about 6 months' time.
Well, the process that you've just described, they actually don't do much of that at all, and they don't even use hot mix.
No, they just have that stuff in a bag and a heavy steel tamper. Yeah.
Sometimes they pour it out of the bag or a bucket, and then they drive away.
Right.
Because that's done. and so then you drive past the next day, it's completely washed out. So then you report it again. And again, they send a crew out. And normally it's a crew of just one person in a truck. And they're supposed to have a couple of cones and things, A
couple of cones? These days it'd be 400 cones ahead of the pothole, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So we've got this excessive, wastage of cones for some things. But then the pothole repairer, the emergency pothole repairer, is normally one or two people in a truck. And they park the truck, shovel it off or tip it off the side, and then they drive away. And you think, well, how can they do that without the cones when old mate round the corner has to have 50 million cones to do, I don't know, to prune one branch off a tree?
It's insane, but I can tell you where that comes from. It'll be the way the contracts are worded, right? And there will be an ability to charge out to the council and the ratepayers how many cones they use. And I know this because we looked at a contract at the one with Manukau City Council, and they were paying a small amount per metre of crack seal, right? Now, crack seal's a bituminous material. You heat it up and you apply it with this gun that basically paints it into the cracks and stops the water getting in, because water is what actually destroys the roads. It's not anything else. It's water. So you got to stop water getting under the surface of the road. So we saw on this contract crack sealing. Well, I just went around and audited all the car parks to do the contract bid, and I saw that there was like thousands of meters of cracks. So we put in a low price to bid for the crack sealing and blew the budget that they wanted us to spend each month in the first month just on crack sealing. And they went, oh, no, don't do that. So the council has these people who come around and inspect, and they look at your bill that you've sent in for the month, and it exceeds what they wanted it to. So they don't do that. And so then all of a sudden you just start doing the things that they want to do, and those are the things that people like you who've rung up 20 times about one pothole complain about. But we actually did it properly. We would cut it out and dig out the surplus material, then repair it.
It's hard to do that as a contractor, so a lot of this blame can't be put on the contractor, doing the work.
It's the contracts.
They have specifically been told not to do it properly and to do it the temporary way. And then, even though they've done a temporary repair, sign it off as complete. The contractor is only doing what they're paid and legally contracted to do.
But it also depends on the specification. Again, we were contracted to fix this car park that had been built in Manukau, and the council had decided after the car park was built and permitted and everything that we would put a bus station in the middle of it. Well, you're driving a 40-ton bus.
An electric one or a diesel one?
Either or, doesn't matter. They've both got power steering. They're driving in on a concrete ingress into the car park, and then hooking left hard with power steering and double wheels at the back. Well, the whole car park had acted like a carpet that hadn't been sealed, and it had all these rolls and lumps in it. And they said, "Oh, well, what's the problem here?" I said, "Well, You've designed this car park to car park specification, not to road specification. There's a massive difference," and that meant that it just basically peeled off under the power steering of the buses.
Yeah, was it an asphalt layer? Was it 50 mil asphalt?
No, it wasn't 50 mil. I can tell you, it was about 10 mil.
Okay, yeah,
right, 10
yeah.
mil floating on top of base course.
Yeah, that's not going to.
It's not going to work, right? And it just destroyed. And after 6 months, it was full of potholes and dig outs and everything. The whole thing needed to be dug up and relaid.
It's like the motorways. The motorways might actually have a couple of hundred of asphalt. They'll have a layer of asphalt and then another layer of asphalt.
Well, it's porous as well, right? So there's
some of it is,
yeah, some of it's porous, designed to get the water to go down and off the surface, and then it hits an impervious layer, and then that goes off to the sides.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's quite deep and quite thick, that some of it in some places.
That OGPA is, I think, what they call open grade permeable asphalt.
Yeah.
Is a great idea to get the water away, but it is a weaker product. So it's not. It's ideal for long straight bits of road, but on corners, tight corners, and things like that, it's not a good product to use.
Yeah.
So
you just got fed up. And then,
so if we go back to 2018, that's when I first drew a penis on the road.
Yeah.
Now, this particular pothole, I had reported it about 20 times. So, so I had Auckland Transport programmed in on my phone as a favourites, and so I could just, call them. And so I'd drive over this pothole and I'd call them, "Hey guys, there's a pothole." And then the next day, I'd call them again. "Hey guys, there's a pothole." And so fast forward to the day that I was drawing the penis on the road. So we're talking about a pothole that's 48 metres long by 1.2 metres wide. So that's
not actually a pothole. Right? That's like classified by transit as a dig out.
Yeah, well, right? we're talking about a trench.
Yeah,
and then in the bottom of that trench was all wavy and bumpy, and so I remember when I was there, I was halfway through the penis, halfway up this 48-metre long thing. So, it was about 20 metres long. I'd done green paint on both sides of it. And the school bus, and I tell you, the look on the school bus driver's face was just like, he was just like, "Oh no." And then as he hit this thing, the kids in the back of the bus were bouncing off the seat.
Yeah.
Right? So here I am standing on the side of the road with my can of green paint, watching these kids bounce out of the seat of the school bus. And, I mean, it just goes to show, Auckland Transport got to a point where they had no accountability. There was no, just no pride in what their job was. Auckland Transport today is a much, much better organisation than it was 5 years ago.
They're the crowd that go around putting in, traffic calming devices that no one voted for. That fire engines and buses and even low slung cars have real trouble getting over them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it even cause floods in some places. They go and build one, and it's in like the low point or of the road, and all of a sudden you've got a flood situation happening.
Yeah, so some of these speed bumps, they're costing $500,000. I think the most expensive one in Auckland was $490,000 to put it in, and then another $100,000 to remove it when all of the neighbours around it complained about structural damage to their homes. Because as the bus drove over the speed bump, it was sending an earthquake, vibrations out from that speed bump, and it was impacting their homes. Their driveways were cracking, the walls in their house were cracking, and so then Auckland Transport had to remove it. $600,000. That $600,000 that could have been spent to seal. So strengthen and seal 2 kilometres of unsealed road. We've got about 700 kilometres of gravel roads in Auckland at the moment. You think we live in the biggest city in the country, we've still got gravel roads.
Well, I live on Waiheke and there's plenty of them over there.
Yeah.
There's not even a crown on half of them. So I doubt a grader has been down any of those roads for quite a considerable amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say crown, you mean the shape of the road?
Yeah.
So that's one of the most important components of the road.
It's how you get rid of water off a road.
Exactly.
You have a crown in it.
And if it's flat, if we haven't got that curvature of the road and it's flat, then you have potholes.
Yeah, and then you introduce suspension, and then you go over a bump and it pushes it down. The next car that comes over goes over the bump, pushes it down. Then it creates the pothole, and the pothole gets wider and wider and bigger, and it starts catching water. Water on a road surface, whether it's sealed or unsealed, is dangerous.
Yeah, but it's part of this environmental push. It's
Wombalism, I call it.
Yeah, no, the road controlling authorities are purposefully creating duck ponds. It's all about the environmental the benefits. The ducks have more places to stop for a swim
in the middle of a road. It's a nightmare. I believe that Auckland Transport, for a quite considerable amount of time, operated to piss off ratepayers. The worst thing is they decide they're going to put a cycleway in somewhere, and then to separate the cycleway from the road, which they've stolen the road from to make the cycleway, they put what I call Tim Tams, these little concrete barriers that are wheel wreckers, basically. But then they didn't think about it. Well, hang on, what about the street sweeping situation? The street sweepers can't get in there to clean it out, so the cycleways end up with all sorts of detritus that's in there and it never gets cleared.
And so the cyclists have their own lane, which is full of debris. Also, it's not as safe as it used to be, because now instead of just having a nice flat road with a bit of white paint either side of the bike, you've now got a curb on one side and then you've got these Tim Tams on the other side, and they're about 200 high.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you know Upper Harbour Drive. It's the old State Highway 18.
I know it really well. People go off, actually hit those Tim Tams on a regular occurrence.
And so the cyclists, so people actually use that road for cycling. The cyclists do not want those concrete Tim Tams. There was even a lobby, cyclist against the concrete blocks, or I think it was the cyclist against the barriers or something like that, because there were cyclists being injured. I think there was a broken collarbone the first week they were installed, at a cost of $2.2 million, I think it was. And again, it's not actually $2.2 million to put some concrete blocks in. It's the consultants, and it's the admin staff, and it's all of the extra fees and charges and the leeches that are taking money from the ratepayers without providing any benefit. You and I could have got some concrete out and done it for a couple of $100,000 tops.
No, tops. Look, Cavendish Drive in Manukau is appalling. They've got those right down the length of it, all the way halfway to the airport. No one rides a bike around there. Not a single person. I've never seen a person. I'm there every week in Manukau, and I drive down there, and there's never a cyclist.
I bet you there's about 3 or 4, and they use it on the days that you're not there. And there'll be a photographer waiting when they ride their bike past, working for Auckland Transport, to take a photo to prove and justify their millions of dollars of expenditure.
The one down Nelson Street, the cycleway that's down Nelson Street. Have you ever seen a cyclist on it?
No, I haven't, no. But the Auckland Transport photographer sure has.
It's probably his 10 mates.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be on their lunch break, and the 9 of them will get their bikes out, and then the other one will take a photo.
Yeah.
Because they've got to justify the expenditure.
Very busy area, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you know, as much as we joke about this, I think it's great that we have cycling and walking as an option, but the problem is that it's not providing an option. It's about taking away the capacity for cars and trucks and buses, and that's the real problem. You know, set aside the extensive amount of money wasted, you know, because every dollar that's wasted on something inappropriate is a dollar that can't be spent where it's needed, you know, and our roads are falling apart.
Well, you know, the transport shouldn't be difficult. Right? It just really shouldn't, right? It just shouldn't be difficult. We know what the population's predicted to be, and that's one thing we actually get pretty right, those sorts of forecasting and things like that. We always seem to be a day late and a dollar short when it comes to investing in not public transport, but the transport infrastructure. And I'd say that probably the best transport infrastructure that we have in Auckland would be the Northern Busway, because it just seems to work. The only thing that they screw up on that is they just build a one-level car park, and then it gets to capacity within 6 months, and then they're having to extend it. I don't know why they don't build a 3-story car park building when they do all of the works.
Exactly.
Right, because the capacity is there.
Or even you look at the Albany Park and Ride, and you look at the footprint of that. I mean, half of it is wasted on trees.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not against trees, but why don't we take all of those trees, put them all in one spot up by the bus station, and so that you can sit under the tree and read your book while you're waiting 20 minutes for your bus, or whatever you know, maybe your bus arrives 20 minutes before your partner or your kids. So you can sit there, you got somewhere nice to sit. But no, they put all these trees out in the car park, right? So what do the trees do? They encourage birds to come in. Well, it's great. I love birds.
Except they crap all over your car.
They're encouraging the birds to, yeah, exactly. And so then so, you know, it's just illogical thinking, because you could get a lot more cars in if we got rid of all of the trees in the car park and put the cars in the car park and the trees somewhere nice that people are going to actually benefit from them. But no, they don't think like that. And we're about to see the exact same thing with Albany Park and Ride with the Brigham Creek Park and Ride. You know,
right.
So
Yeah.
because the next big project for buses is the Western bus lanes. And so we're going to have a park and ride somewhere by Westgate.
Which will be vast and wide and one level only.
Well, it'll be tiny. It'll be full by 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
But like Silverdale, for example, that park and ride,
again,
they
full up by
built the
6:30
park
in the
and
morning.
ride, and then they decided, well, actually, instead of the buses going off from the road, because that's what they used to do when they built the park and ride, the buses were on the road and they had a turnaround, and they'd turn around on the road, pick up the passengers, and then fuck off down the motorway, right, down to OTR, and then get onto the busway. But they decided, well, we'll build a terminus there, right? So they built the terminus, and for over a year, it sat empty and unused because they forgot to permit it. The council, who are Nazis when it comes to permitting anything else, didn't permit their own building.
Yeah,
It was nuts.
No, it's out of control, but we see that sort of wastage everywhere. I mean, you look at the Huapai Park and Ride. Do you know where the Huapai Park and Ride is?
No idea.
So what I can tell you is that the Rodney Local Board has already spent $600,000 on the Huapai Park and Ride. Do you know what we've got for that $600,000?
A report?
A report that says it's a bad idea.
Because they want you to use the train that goes there.
Yeah, but the train doesn't go there anyway.
No.
It can't get through the Waitakere Tunnel. So, you know, I mean,
plenty of money for building tunnels under Queen Street and screwing up all the businesses in the central business district, but no money to fix the Waitakere Tunnel.
Yeah, I was out for dinner last night with some friends, and one of them said 22.6% of the commercial premises in the city, in Auckland City,
Empty.
was empty. You know, so that's more than 1 in 5
But it's like that in every, like if you go to Takapuna, and I lived there for a while, it's like half the shops are open. It's like they're for that Samoan family, for Sale and for Lisi.
Yeah, but these building owners are still going to pay rates.
Yeah.
They're probably still going to pay insurance. Either that or self-insure. So all of these people are still paying money, but they've got an empty building.
Well, that's what I can't understand. Like when I lived in Whangaparoa, I watched the extension from Constellation to OTR.
The new motorway.
Yeah, it's 3.5 kilometres.
Yeah,
between OTR and Constellation, and they like it's 7 lanes across for 3.5 kilometres. It's 7 lanes across, and then guess what? At Constellation, it goes to 2.
Yeah,
right. So you're funneling 2 lanes coming out of Whangaparoa. It hits OTR to 7. It spreads out across there, and then it funnels back into 2. So all they did is move the tail back 3.5 kilometres closer to the city.
And I've just driven through there this morning, and it's the same every day. The cars are all going like this, and one car's over there, they want to cut over there, and then they want to shoot up the shoulder. Sometimes there's a cop there to give you a ticket for that. But I just can't believe that they didn't put a 3rd lane to Tristram. Because a lot of that traffic gets off there because you've got Wairau Park, which is a massive commercial area.
Yeah, which has got the worst on and off ramps.
I mean, you think about how much better the traffic would be if we had a 3rd lane just for that extra part, because much...
Again, it comes down to engineering. Very often where the choke points are in the Auckland motorway system is as a result of traffic coming onto the motorway on very tiny on-ramps. You go to places like Germany, the on-ramps are like 1 kilometre long. We've got these little tiny on-ramps where everyone sort of wants to head right as fast as they can, and it stops everything. It's just ridiculous.
That's another thing. So that is actually unlawful for people to come onto the motorway and go directly to the passing lane. Police know about it. I've emailed them a few times, but nobody wants to do anything.
Do you know what
about
else is unlawful?
Holding up traffic?
No. All those on-ramps that have got traffic lights on them?
Oh, yeah.
Right? You can safely ignore them because the police can't prosecute you for it. And I know this from several traffic police that I happen to know.
Okay.
And they say, they say, just drive through them. Well, that's what we do. So and they've got these signs up, right, that say 1 vehicle per green light.
But they've got 4
They've
lights.
got 4 lights, 4 green lights. So that's 4 in my book.
Yep.
So I just go straight through, right? Whoever's in front slowing down, I just ride right up behind them and carry on.
Yeah, so the thing with the on-ramps is that you need the cars to be spaced out. And if one car's coming on tailgating the next car, then you can't fit into lane 1 of the motorway.
I drove a 4-wheel drive, of course I can fit.
You can push your way.
Of course I can fit.
But when you do that, it's the butterfly effect. So then one of the cars that you're pushing out of the way, they have to hit the brakes. So then you've got this one and all the way back, and then next thing you know, you've caused a traffic jam where that entire section of motorway.
Well, there's already a traffic jam that goes from those lights all the way back into the suburb.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
So it's just moved the traffic jam from off the motorway into the suburb.
But what if we move to an enforcement of the following, because you've got a minimum distance, a following distance. So if we had enforcement of that, so that guy that's tailgating me up the on ramp, I'm already going 100, right? He's doing right. He needs to be 1 second behind.
You got to keep your distance.
Yeah, but because if we actually had that following distance, then everyone could just, you could merge onto the motorway.
We're talking about Kiwi drivers here.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, we need to change the culture.
Maybe merge like a zip. Yeah, fuck that zip up.
But you think about how much time we could save every day if everybody ahead of us merged in properly and didn't cause a traffic jam.
Have you tried driving on Saturday on the Southern Motorway, around say 2:00 and trying to go back into the city?
It's just as bad as 6:00 in the morning.
It's a 6-kilometre, 20-kilometre an hour, car park.
Yeah.
For what? Because some people at Mount Wellington can't merge properly. That's what causes it. It's just insane.
Yeah, no, it's but again, the coppers will if you're doing 83 k's
on
the road that used to be 100, or 63 k's along a road that's now 60 and used to be 100, the cops are there. You know, they're
Well, it's
probably
like that speed camera on the road from out to Coombe.
Coatesville Riverhead Highway.
Fuck,
That
must have made a fortune. That used to be 100 k's, that road.
Yeah.
Then it went to 80. Then they dropped it to 60. They must have hoovered in millions of dollars.
Well, the first 3 months or the first quarter after they reduced it from 80 to 60, that speed camera or revenue collector made $3.5 million. You know, I mean, that is just printing money.
At least it's got a sign up now saying speed camera area.
Well, no, they call it a safety camera. But I continually ask, what is the speed camera doing for safety?
Don't know, because it was
just making
annoying.
money.
Like I used to leave home in Arkles Bay, drive down that back way to get to the gun club at Coombe, right?
Oh yeah, on
Waitemata.
Was that Peak Road? No,
Up by the forest there.
yeah.
That's all been cut down now. But
Yeah.
it used to take me about 40 minutes, and then they dropped the speed limit to 60, and then it turned into an hour.
Well, you've got another way you can go now. So we've just sealed Ararimu Valley Road and Bald Hill Road, so you can whiz out.
Oh, Bald Hill's now.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
okay.
just been done a few weeks ago. So you can whiz out to Waitoki, turn left onto I think it's Forestry Road there, and follow
Up Forestry, and you end up on Bald Hill and go round that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So that way you can take your car without having to wash it afterwards. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with gravel, except for the fact that you've got dust everywhere and you can't go as fast because you're slipping and sliding. You know, but no, that's sealed all the way now. So that's
good. Yeah. That's handy to know.
Unfortunately, it is 60 and 80, so you might get a speeding ticket. But
So you've just been re-elected.
I have been, yeah.
For your troubles. Tell us about what it was like going from being a tradie into being a politician, and how have you managed? You obviously sort of enjoy it because you went up and went again. So.
Yeah. To be honest with you, there's not a lot of enjoyment. In actual fact, in that building, in that room, in that environment, there's nothing enjoyable. Well, certainly from my point of view. You know, if you were on the left, you know, the left side of the spectrum, you know, the political
the crazy
spectrum,
side, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like you want speed bumps, you want potholes, you want slow speed limits, you hate cars.
You want everyone to ride bikes.
Yeah, you know, you want your soybeans to be harvested.
You've got a fine collection of you know, cycling pants and things like that. Yeah.
But you know, this is the thing, right? So if you harvest your soybeans and then you can't have it go on a truck, so then you have your push bike or your horse and cart, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but anyway, so if you're that extreme craziness, you'd fit in really well in that council building. But because I come in and I say things like, I want to be able to drive safely and efficiently from one part of Rodney to the other part, or one part of New Zealand to another part of New Zealand, without having to, interact and coincide with
other motorists or anybody else.
No, activities that shouldn't be on main roads,
like horse riding.
Well, horse riding's, I mean, I think it's okay to have a horse every now and again or a cyclist every now and again, but when we've got developers that take a major transport corridor, so I'm talking like 8,000, 10,000 traffic movements a day, and then the developers are allowed to put 100 driveways onto the side of that. Well, that's 10,000 vehicles driving along the road, an extra 100 driveways. I mean, you think about every time somebody comes in and out of a driveway is a safety concern. Every parked car on the side of the road is a safety concern. Everybody walking along the side of a road is a safety concern because there's a risk of a pedestrian versus car. So our motorways are the safest form of transport because there's no pedestrians. Right? So there's zero risk unless you've got some drunk walking up the motorway.
You haven't driven down South Auckland, did you?
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. You got some drunk on the motorway. They shouldn't be there. But generally speaking, there's no pedestrians on the motorway, so it's safer. So why can't we apply some of that sensible logic to other major transport corridors?
You look at all the new developments and, up around Whangaparoa and that, huge in Silverdale and turn fields.
You're not talking about Speed Bumpville, are you?
Well, that's Speed Bumpville, but not only that, the roads are really narrow. But the garages are either non-existent or small. And so people park on the road, which was narrow anyway. Right?
You can't fit a fire truck along most of them.
Well, you can't park two cars on either side of the road. It's one side or the other, or not. And it's complete carnage. But the council's in control of that, not the developer. Right, the council approved the plans for the development. They can say your roads aren't wide enough, but they don't.
Without going too far into some sort of defamatory case against me, the developer of Speedbumpville, which is what I call Milldale, is Fulton Hogan, and so my assumption is that Fulton Hogan like building roads, and they've got this obsession with building speed bumps now. They've learned how much money they can make on a speed bump,
$500,000 each.
Yeah, exactly. Well, up to some of them are a little bit less, but
so we'll put in 400.
Exactly. Cha-ching, and so all of a sudden, I think we've got about 390 speed bumps in Speedbumpville, and more coming. As they do the next stage, there'll be another 100 speed bumps, and hey, look, that's all very well and good, but not on the roads that I have to drive on. Because I'm never going to buy a house in.
Do you know what I do when I hit a speed bump?
You go faster?
No, I land on the horn. Right?
Yeah.
Because especially in older suburbs where they've put in traffic calming devices, right? That was a request of residents.
The name traffic calming is...
It's not. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
And there used to be, like my grandmother used to live in Dommett Ave in Epsom, and they put in traffic calming devices, which was a
traffic aggravating
a judder bar at each end, a massive one, big table one,
Yeah.
And a couple of chicanes in this short road, right? So every time I went over those bumps, I just landed on the horn.
Did they remove them?
Yeah.
Nice.
Because the neighbours complained about the noise. But that's what more people should do. Just land on the horn. Every time you hit that bump, oops, I slipped.
Yeah.
And honk on the horn and they'll be removed.
And another good one I used to do a lot, I don't now, as I've got Michelins on my car now, so you can't skid. But when I had rubbish tyres on my car, you just pull the handbrake. I'll tell you, because that's not the horn is one thing, but when people hear that, of your tyres screeching,
they're waiting for the bang.
They think there's a crash about to happen, and so the heads turn. You can see the curtains opening in the houses next door. People are looking out to see what's going on. It's just me approaching a speed bump.
Slowing down appropriately.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I didn't see it till I was too close. Sorry, officer. I had to brake excessively there, but luckily I made it over the speed bump safely.
I'm a consultant to people who want to get into politics, and they often come.
I thought you were about to say you were a consultant for speed bumps there.
No, shit, no. I'd be living in Paratide Drive if I was a consultant for speed bumps.
You would be, mate.
In a $20 million house with unobstructed views.
You'd have a helipad and your own helicopter.
And I'd be lobbying the council to put bigger speed bumps in Paratide Drive to discourage the tourist buses from coming up our street. But I get asked, I want to go into the council and I want to change the world. I say, okay, well, I can't help you. So why is that? So I can get you elected. No problem. I can help you get elected. I can tell you what you need to do to get elected. It's very simple, and you could probably Google it, but it's knock on lots of doors. Right, and do it more than the person who comes second behind you. That's how you get elected. In
there's a lot of work to do that method, but
it is. There's a lot of work, but that's how it works, right? Either that or become a complete prick to the council and post videos and draw penises around potholes, get elected.
Yeah,
right. But you've curtailed your spray painting activity since you've been there, so you're going to probably have to up that game this term.
So the problem,
but to get in there. You're actually not – the council and the local boards are one thing. That's a whole lot of boring meetings, a whole lot of papers to read, and you get to vote on stupid and inane proposals. And the way I describe it is councillors make kind of the big decisions, and they shovel little decisions like where a park bench is going to go down to the local board. So by all means, if you want to change the world, you get to choose where the park benches are. You can get elected and do that. But when you get in there – what you're dealing with is not all the councillors or the local board members, it's all the bureaucracy, and they're not there to help you. You're an inconvenience to them, unless you're on the left.
If I went into that room and I says, I want to build some speed bumps and I want to build some more potholes, mate, they would be my best friend.
Yeah.
They really would be. But because I come in there and I says, actually, I want to be able to drive my car and my truck and, I want buses to be able to safely travel around on the roads,
well, buses are for other people to use, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll catch it every now and again. But the thing is that the bus, like a truck, is a heavy vehicle, and it has to drive on the road.
Well, if it's one of those electric ones, it's even heavier.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
That's what people don't understand about. We'll have electric buses. All right, now they weigh 50 tons.
Yeah, and I wonder, actually, just thinking about that, the vibrations from the speed bumps, every time these buses bounce
Shaking
over
the batteries loose.
Yeah, are the batteries safe? Are they designed for that?
Well, we know
level
the
of impact?
batteries aren't safe. We had 3 bus incidences with batteries and thermal runaway in 3 weeks in Auckland. One on.
I think one of them hit a bridge or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of them hit a bridge. Well, guess where the batteries in those buses is?
On the roof.
Yeah, in the roof. They are the roof.
They are the roof. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've taken a bus at maximum height and then they put a battery on top.
Well, no,
Is that why they hit?
No, they're kind of in the ceiling of the thing.
Okay.
But if you hit a bridge, you're hitting where the batteries are,
Yeah.
which is going to cause shock and crack the batteries and create thermal runaway with lithium. That's just how lithium works, right? You're actually driving around in a bomb. As long as you don't crack it, bend it, break it, or put it in water, you're okay. But, the one on Tamaki Drive, that was an SUV that hit a bus.
Yeah.
The shock of the hit of the bus made the battery slide and break free from how they were put into the thing, created thermal runaway. It took them more than 12 hours to put the fire out.
Yeah.
So we've got all these.
Have you seen the crash report from Auckland Transport on that one?
Yeah, I know they're very careful
The batteries did not catch fire. And that's the official response.
Well, that's bullshit.
But I've seen photos where the flames are coming out, and the only way those flames could be coming out is from where the battery is.
Yeah.
So,
but FENS says it was thermal runaway on the batteries. So they're the guys who had to put it out.
They've actually shared the facts.
Yeah, but you can't. It's very difficult to put those things out. There's many fire brigades around the world that if there is an electric car that catches fire, their solution to that is to get like a barrel bin.
Oh, and just
and push it into the barrel bin and let it burn.
Yeah.
Because they're very, very difficult to put out. You can't put them out with water. Water and lithium. Anyone who went to school like I did and blew up, the boys' toilets with lithium in the
I
toilet.
thought you were about to say you had a really cool physics teacher and science class. And
Oh no, we made our own. We made our own science experiments.
Yeah, we I remember at school we made nylon. The teacher took 2 beakers and he poured one in the other, and then got a thing and hooked it out and made nylon. Exciting stuff, but yeah, there was no explosions, unfortunately. In my education.
Well, you used to blow things up.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with bureaucrats, and they don't want to help you. They think that the elected representatives, whether it's local board or the councillors, are an impediment to their grand design to make Auckland a livable city. Well, have a look at Queen Street now.
But livable is it's like the word safe. Oh, we're making these changes to make the road safe.
Vaccine, safe and effective.
So yes. Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know if we've got time for the vaccine conversation, but they say, we want to make the road safe. I say, okay, so you want to make the road safe by building a speed bump, which is going to cause a vertical impact, but you're not interested in fixing the tar bleed on the corner, or you're not interested in sweeping the road after you've re-chip sealed it. Now, I've been to crashes, fatals as well, where the road has been a factor, but the bureaucrats, they will even put it in writing. There's nothing wrong with the road. And I say, but I have my eyeballs and I've gone to that road and I can see that there's a defect on the road. And that defect, maybe it wasn't the only factor, but that defect was a contributing factor to that fatality.
Yeah.
And, they do everything they can to cover up and say that it wasn't. It's just like the bus incident, they had a written response. The bus did not catch on fire. Well, it did.
It burned to the ground.
Exactly. But they've still got something in writing contradictory to the facts. And this is what I'm seeing with crashes on the road, is they've got it in writing saying the road was not a factor, therefore we don't need to change what we do. It's like, but actually there was a factor from the road, whether that be there was a dip and it was full of water and so it caused aquaplaning, and where the car crashed was just after that dip in the road, so aquaplaning, because it was raining at the time, could have been a factor. Oh, no, the road looks fine. Oh, we went there on a dry day. It was nice and sunny. There was no water.
But it's like our chip seals, right? This is, again, a day late, dollar short attitude of of local councils and Kiwis in general. The reason why we do chip sealing is because it's cheap.
There's actually some other benefits of chip seal, is that it's flexible.
That's right, but you've got to do it right, and we do it wrong, because the next thing is applying the chip seal requires the bituminous material to be poured down, and then the metal to be placed on top of that, and then you're supposed to roll it into the bituminous material. Right, what we do, right, is we put the bituminous material down, which is fine, right? Then we drive the metal truck over it, dropping the metal, and then we spread it out a little bit, and then we fuck off and leave it with 30-kilometre signs and big and little things that watch out for your windscreen, and we leave it like that for 2 weeks and let the public roll it with their cars, getting tar all over the side and everything else. That's not the best practice for making a chip seal road.
That would actually work if they did positive traffic management and they put cones down the middle and they moved that flow of traffic side to side throughout.
But they don't.
They don't.
So you end up with, on both sides of the road, 2 lines that is pressed into the road, and the rest of it's all loose for gay abandon and stays like that for 6 months.
Well, actually, the roads quite often fail after 2 weeks because where those wheel tracks are, it's been over compacted and the stones have been taken away. So now we've got flushing or tar bleed.
Yeah,
and so it's, that would be avoided so easy just by changing the practice. We don't even need an excessive amount of change or money. It's just putting cones down the middle and forcing that traffic to move side to side across those lanes. Would have an even compaction. But the other one is that we actually need to do something about the people doing 80 in the 30 zones for the first couple of days, because if a car's coming for, especially with hot tyres, they've already been driving for a little while, the tyres are hot, it's pulling those stones up. Whereas if we had a copper there every now and again, people were going 30, 35 Ks, and we're moving them side to side across the lane, then we would actually have even compaction.
But the police are too busy policing hate speech.
And
hurty words on Twitter.
Yeah.
They can't deal with important things like ensuring people don't drive into each other.
But, like we're talking about people doing 80 in a 30 zone. Cops don't care. They do it themselves.
Yeah.
But then you get out of the roadwork site and you might be doing 107 in a 100 zone. Mate, they're chasing you down like it's the end of the world. And I think, hold on.
They're on you like white on rice.
I just don't get it. It's like, why are they doing one and not the other? Is all I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, again, it comes down to reporting. It's like, they found those 40,000 tickets that were, given to people and they didn't even know that they had them.
Oh, God, I haven't heard about that. It was speeding tickets.
It was a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Okay.
Speeding tickets and things like that.
Oh, it never got sent out.
Well, no, it seems that they were just applying them randomly because we've got a quota and shit, we need to get 10 more tickets before I finish my shift. So, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Mate, if I got a ticket, in actual fact, almost every ticket that I've got over the last 5 years, I've taken to court. So I'm not going to just pay some ticket that's magically come from nothing.
Yeah.
I suppose a lot of people would, though, wouldn't they? It's a time thing.
It's a time thing. If you're, obstreperous and want to make a principle of it, well, actually prove it.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Other people go, oh, fuck, I got a ticket, I'll pay the $100.
Well, when you weigh it up, right, an $80 ticket or $120 ticket versus 3 to 4 days off work in the courthouse, plus you've got to research the legislation, because there's no point standing up saying, I
don't think it was fair.
The judge is just going to laugh you off.
That's the vibe of the thing.
Whereas when I stand up and then I say, 7.1, this, blah, 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 and then the judge comes back with some stuff and I already know what they were going to come back with, and then I flip through all the paperwork that I've got and I say, Your Honour, you're reading off this, but here, is that correct? Yeah. And then we go back to this. And after a bit of debate, they say, oh, well, actually, I can see your point, yeah. And then she turns to the cops and says, look, this is going to be a very long and lengthy process. Geoff's got a claim here. Would you just like to withdraw the ticket and we can move on to the next issue?
Yes, we'll do that, yeah.
And next thing you know, they've withdrawn the ticket. And that saves about 3 or 4 hours of the judge's time. And the judge is worth money, that's taxpayer funded.
And all the ancillary staff and everything. The courts are a fuck around. They're the biggest fuck around that there is in society, really. You go into court, at 10 o'clock. That's when they kind of get going. And
You might be sitting there until 2 o'clock before they call your name.
before you're sitting there till 2 o'clock, they call you, and then they go, oh no, charge withdrawn. And it's ridiculous. It's just a waste of time. And you see this happening all the time, and especially around Auckland. And I go back to Queen Street, and that's what reminded me. I sat there in court one day watching the parade of derelicts that had been arrested on the weekend, turning up on Monday in court for drunk and disorderly charges, and every single one of them were on bail at the time. They breached their bail conditions. The judge was sitting there, wanting to actually slam them. But they say to the police, are you opposing bail? Oh, no, Your Honour. Okay. So he says to the drunk, you're in breach of bail conditions. Are you aware of that? Oh, yes, Your Honour. Well, you're not allowed to be drinking. You understand that? Yes, Your Honour. I said, all right, well, I'm bailing you again, to your next appearance.
Do they drop them off at the liquor shop, or do they?
Well, we saw one guy do that, and we left the court about an hour later, and we're walking down the bottom of Queen Street. And there was this guy sculling out of
It's no surprise, though, is it?
sculling out of a bottle of Scrumpies an hour after he's got off a bail breach for drinking.
Was it 2 bottles? Was it
no? It was one of
to his
those
hand?
really big bottle of
Scrumpy hands.
Yeah.
Well, you
almost like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The rule is that you can't untape them until they're finished.
Right.
Sorry, Your Honour. I
was playing grumpy hands with my mates.
I thought, my bail conditions didn't say that.
But we're just, and the bottom of Queen Street is just awash with unpleasant people that no one moves on. They've squatted in doorways and.
Are these? I don't come to the city much now. That's one of the reasons, but. Is it because they haven't got jobs to go to, or are they just people that will never get a job because they don't want to?
They've all got one or other of several afflictions. They're either drug addicts, alcoholics, combination of both of those, and mental health issues. Mm. And they've fallen out of society. And there was a time in New Zealand society where we looked after them, but we closed down the institutions, we closed down the places where we can help those sorts of people. They've got nowhere to go. They don't have the wherewithal or the brain power to actually have any critical thinking that maybe these aren't good choices, and they end up on the street. Now, we've got a welfare system. We pay these people presumably money. There's plenty of them that are chugging as well while they're there. And, they've got their cups out. We never used to have beggars on Queen Street. Why have we got beggars on Queen Street? It's because of a failing of society and the system. Mm. But, the mayor says this is a police problem. The police say, no, it's a city council problem. So nobody does anything.
Well, maybe we need a bylaw,
The alcoholics and drug dealers are mentally ill. What do you think they think about laws? Fuck all is what they think about them. They're just trying to get the next $10 so they can go and buy another bottle of Scrumpies and some duct tape.
Yeah. Hey, that's a problem that I wouldn't know how to fix, and in actual fact, there's probably other better people for that. But when it comes to the road where I'm, because that's something that impacts me in my life. I'm very passionate about it. But it's like that saying, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
So you think of if you were the Minister of Transport, and then you were also the minister of 5 other portfolios. Yeah, well, how can you be the Minister of Transport?
Well, you're not doing justice to any of the jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole saying, jack of all trades, but master of none. You can only do one thing really, really well.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that we've got professional politicians going into Parliament and sometimes in City Council. You look fuckwit Richard Hills as an example, right?
I have to be careful what I say there because I do need to work with him.
I don't have to, right? He's a fuckwit.
But when it comes down to policy, he's one of these people that wants to build speed bumps and reduce the speed limits
and bridges across the harbour, so the 5 people who want to cycle into the city can. Yeah, fuck off.
Cost per person. How many millions of dollars per person to cycle across the bridge? Versus, a couple of dollars.
It's the same with cycleways, right? The people who are cycling aren't paying road user charges, and yet they're getting a portion of the road. Yeah, let's have cycles with number plates and
100% agree with that.
with number plates, and we register jet skis, we register boats, right? Let's do bikes next, and if you're biking on the roads with gay abandon, pay for them, right? Just like the motorists who had their roads stolen from them that they paid for.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, that. So while I think, yes, cyclists should be paying because, but also every cyclist, theoretically, like in an ideal world, every cyclist would be one less car in my way.
Well,
right?
But they're not.
Unfortunately, they're not commuters. They are the retirees going for a bike ride.
Yeah.
And so that's the argument.
3 abreast.
Yeah, 3. So you think, well, actually, that's fantastic because that's one less car holding up traffic. But it's not, because they wouldn't be in traffic anyway. They would be at home sipping their cup of tea with their bicky because they're a 75-year-old or they've retired early. They wouldn't be blocking up traffic anyway. So that's sort of an argument which makes sense until you realise the people that are actually using the cycle lanes aren't.
But Auckland
one less
is
car.
like, they go, 40% of passenger movements in Amsterdam with cycles. It's fucking flat, you moron. Of course it is, right? There isn't a suburb in Auckland that isn't flat.
Well, you can go 100 metres or 200 metres or something like that.
But then you'll get a hill, right? Oh, we'll build a cycleway on Nelson Street. It's steep, and it goes up and down, You know that it ends up on another ridge that keeps going up. It's moronic behaviour that's going on. I live on Waiheke, and it's even worse over there. They've got cycleways that are uncyclable. And
you still have that pub right on the beach, when you get off the ferry and there's a beach. Yeah, can you walk straight off the ferry and get a beer still?
Not sure. I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, it's a while since I've been there.
But they decided the council has decided with, I don't know, probably numerous reports, to paint little cycle symbols in the middle of the road with little arrows. So, yes, you can cycle on, and so they do. They cycle down the middle of the road with gay abandon and hold everybody up, often 2 or 3 abreast. I see more cycles on the road in Waiheke than anywhere else in Auckland. And they think they're immune to traffic, and they're not. And the roads are appalling over there.
You got to remind them. So there's a bit of legislation, Section 2.1 of the Road User Rules, which says you must let traffic pass you safely.
Oh, no, that doesn't apply to cyclists. They've got an exemption to that.
No, they don't. So if they're unreasonably holding up traffic, that's a $150 ticket. So if they let's say there's an opportunity for them to move to the left and let you safely pass them, and they don't do that, boom, $150.
But the cops are too busy perving at the girls down at the beach in summer on Waiheke. That's what they do. You'll find, today's reasonably warm. There's not much cloud. And
what if we had a commission, or a KPI? So every time a cop gives that ticket for holding up traffic, they get 50%
in their back pocket.
Yeah,
yeah.
They would start enforcing that law, wouldn't they?
I think they would. Yeah,
$75 a pop. they can do one of those tickets every 10 minutes.
10 a day.
Well, even 10 a day.
10 a day, $750.
Mate, they'll be.
I think you're onto something there. Why don't you propose it at council?
Yeah, well, at council we don't get to sort of control the police, but maybe one day I'll go to Transport Minister. Maybe I can look at that if I ever get to that point. But it's one of my biggest frustrations is slow drivers thinking they're entitled to hold up traffic. We all have to share the road. Cyclists, horses, slow people, normal people. But if you want to go slowly, let's say I'm driving my truck and I can't go much more than 80 k's in that thing. I make sure I'm on the left, and when I see a long line of traffic behind, I ease off on straight bits. Ease off, pull into the shoulder a little bit. Everyone was past, they give you the toot and the thumbs up and the flash of the lights. It's great. Everyone's happy. But then you've got these people in the little hatchbacks and they're plodding along at 60 and 100
and they get
zone.
to a passing lane.
Oh, yeah, 120.
Right. And they're 120 down the passing lane, not letting anyone pass.
Yeah, they're so entitled. They think they're entitled to hold up traffic, and they're not. That should be $150 as soon as it happens, but the cops don't.
I've got a question for you. Council seem to hate dogs. Right, so there's signs up on every beach, and little poo bags that you got to pick up your dog's poos and carry it around on the end of your leash, and that it's so enjoyable going for a walk with your dog with a with a bag of poo hanging off your leash, 3 inches from your hand.
You could put it in the bin. I mean, provided the council.
But they've removed half the bins.
Yeah,
right.
That's another problem, isn't it?
We'll take the bins away. Hang on, you told us that's where we're supposed to put the dog poo.
Yeah,
but you can ride a horse, and it can shit everywhere.
That's a good one.
Right.
I thought horse owners had to stop and pick up their horse shit
Well,
as
I
well.
can tell you they don't do that on Waihi.
Well, yeah, I know they don't.
Right?
But,
There's one,
Yeah.
gone from, obviously went up to Jerry's to get an ice cream and then back down to the beach. And several mountains of horse poo,
yeah.
on the road, waiting for a car to spread it wisely across the road.
I wonder if there's still some rules around that, because I know, for example, farmers still have the right, except for on state highways, they still have the right to move cows along any road.
Yeah.
And they have right of way. If you imagine you've got 100 angry bulls running towards you, you're not going to try and get your car through there because the bulls are going to wreck your car, aren't they? But
even a sheep will.
Yeah.
And they're stupid.
So I imagine there must be some rules. Maybe the rule is that you can leave your horse too.
But this is the problem, isn't it, with society? We have all these rules. You've got the government now saying
too many rules, and
no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Right. And you look at the government now, they're trying to deal with social media and children using, we'll pass a law. Well, fuck off. Like any 13-year-old worth of salt will know how a VPN works.
Yeah.
Right? How are you going to stop that?
Well, that comes back to all these other laws, which first of all, people don't know they exist, let alone police enforcement of them. And that took $150 for holding up traffic.
Well, who's ever been charged with that?
The majority of people don't even know that rule exists.
There's grandma and grandpa Smith towing their Oxford caravan that they bought 40 years ago at 70 kilometres an hour during a public holiday weekend, holding up 4 miles of traffic behind them. They never get a ticket, do they?
No. And so if the cops can't even enforce the most important law of the road, which is that one, how are they supposed to enforce an 11-year-old or a 10-year-old on Facebook?
To be fair, right, the police are very busy covering up their own.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That takes a lot of effort, especially when they're dealing with, child pornography on the commissioner's computer and things like that. We can't have that. We will just cover it up.
No, they've obviously gone about that the wrong way, If
really? You think? That's a very come on, Geoff. Come on, you're not that polite normally.
No, I mean there's a few things in this world that it should be zero tolerance. And if I ever do go to central government, because you think about the death penalty, right? So in America or in other countries, if you do an extremely horrific crime, then the judges have that opportunity to give you that death penalty. Or, we spend $2 million a year, or what is it?
It's about $200,000.
$200,000 a year to keep some nasty person in a little cell and feed them nicely and give them everything they want. Or 50 cents for a bullet.
Well, I don't know where you're buying your ammo from. It's a bit more expensive.
It's been a while. Huh? Yeah.
But our judges, though, they just seem to think that they're. And I watched this the other day. I was in court supporting someone who's been a victim of violent crime, with a home invasion and a dog napping and all sorts of other stuff. I'm sitting there watching the judge trying his hardest to not send this person who's breached her bail conditions, who has got other charges for violence, and also was on charges for a separate incident that didn't involve us, with threatening to kill. And here's the judge trying desperately not to send her to jail, because you're young. And, I need an alternative to because there's no home detention on Waiheke Island because they can't monitor it.
Oh, so because the cell phones don't work?
Well, for some reason, they haven't got the manpower to monitor it to get people to go.
Because I know it needs, it goes to the 3G or 4G network or something, and then if you cut it off, then it sends an alert to say that they've cut it off.
So that you can't have home detention on Waiheke Island, and she lives on Waiheke Island, right? So the judge was trying his very best not to send her to jail. So in the end, we've all gone into court to read out
like the
victim impact
yeah.
statements and things like that. We've all taken a day off work, and here's this fuckwit judge who's going, there, you're young, and it's summer. So what we'll do is I'll postpone this for 3 months, and we'll come back in April next year, right, to do your sentencing. And in the meantime, you're on curfew and it's 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Oh, well, that's tough in summer. So I'll just change that so it's 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. All right. Okay, you can go now. And I'm sitting there absolutely disgusted watching this judge bend over backwards for the criminal and not for the victims.
I've seen it too. Not to that extent, but when I'm sitting in court waiting for my speeding ticket, to try and save my 20 demerit points, I've seen that happen as well. And, I saw a guy, he was in there for aggravated robbery with a sawn-off shotgun. And I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty serious,
That's very serious.
You put yourself in the victim's shoes.
They've had a gun pointed at their face.
And he's fired the weapon too.
Right.
And I think he got like 2 years in jail. And I'm thinking, so now as a dairy owner or a petrol station owner, or, you own the local kebab shop down the road, whatever you do, you've had this guy come in and commit this crime against you, and you now know in 2 years' time he's coming back.
Mm.
It's just not quite right, hey?
That's the thing. I guess that's why you got into politics. You're looking at it from an everyman perspective and saying, this is crook, this is wrong, I'm going to try and do something about it. But then the bureaucrats are all woke and fuckwits themselves. They're all sitting there trying to ankle tap you all the way.
Well, do you know one of the roads that doesn't have a speed bump on it?
Go on, tell me.
Fanshawe Street. Do you know what else is on Fanshawe Street? The Auckland Transport Building.
Right.
So this is what I say. Why do we not have a speed bump outside the Auckland Transport Building?
A massive one.
Well, because they are the ones that are forcing the speed bumps on us.
Well, there's actually pedestrian crossings across Fanshawe Street.
Yeah, but they're safe. They're flat.
Yeah, but why aren't they raised like every other one that they're doing?
It's because it would impact the Auckland transport officers. So you imagine every time a bus goes over there and, you're up at your computer going, where can I put a speed bump today? You don't want to be, suffering from the mini earthquakes every time the bus goes over the speed bump, do you? Yeah, you only want to inflict that pain on others.
You're just busily writing the minutes from the last 15 meetings that you attended to achieve nothing at all.
Editing the minutes after the fact, yeah.
It's insane. And that's the problem is, we didn't used to have this massive bureaucracy running our cities. We had people who worked for the council, and they didn't get paid that much because they did it out of service, really.
Yeah.
Now we've got all these professional consultants and professional level managers and all this sort of stuff. And the councillors who are elected, who used to make these decisions, are rubber stamping what the bureaucrats want.
Yeah, it's if you look at what some of these people get paid. You talk about the minutes. I've had meetings where after the fact the staff have gone through and edited. I even had one where they just did an old switcheroo on me. I says, I'd like to move this motion that we do this. What the developer was asking for, which was he wanted to call a road a specific name. So I says, I would like to move that. And then after the meeting, I read the minutes and I says, Geoff Upson has moved that we will call it this other name. And the developer had specifically says, I do not want to use this name on that road. I want to use that name on this other road. And it was he came in and he talked to us and I says, look, we'll do that. We voted. And then the staff went and changed it afterwards. And I'm thinking, the staff wanted it, but the staff didn't get what they wanted. So they just tried to sneakily change the minutes to reflect what they wanted, which is so corrupt.
Well, Maurice Williamson, he's a good mate of mine. He was telling me about when he started going through line by line of the budget.
Oh, yeah.
And he found that there were...
Has he actually gone through the whole budget?
Oh, yeah, he's like that. He knows how... He's a spreadsheet ninja.
Yes, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But he discovered that there was a significant portion of council employees that never attended the office. And they had...
Do they even exist?
Well, that was one question. But he said, why have we got a full-time employee residing in Barcelona, in Spain, right?
Sitting on a beach.
They were working from home.
Yeah.
And home was, and then the bureaucrats kicked up a stink about it, right?
Yep.
So he just went into Wayne Brown's office and said, right, we need to have a policy that everyone who's on the payroll has to spend 2 days a week in the office.
Yeah. Sorted that problem out, didn't it?
Well, that one was the end of that one. In Barcelona, it's a long way to travel to spend 2 days in the office to travel back home again.
Yeah, plane ticket's probably more than what they earn in a week.
Well, I don't know. He's worked for the council.
Okay. Yeah. That is a very good point.
And then he'd probably say it's work travel and bill it to the ratepayer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I get to charge mileage for certain things. So, I guess they'd be able to charge all reasonable costs, right? Plane ticket. No, I mean, I hear about that sort of stuff all the time, and it's, and like I said before, every dollar that gets spent on something like that is a dollar that can't be spent on something that we need.
Well, we've just had the local body elections with I think it was the lowest turnout for quite some time.
Yeah.
Except in the ward where a couple of ratbags wanted to get themselves elected, and somehow they're the only ward in the entire Auckland city that had a larger turnout by a considerable percent.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here, of course, no.
I mean,
so people aren't engaged. Are they not engaged in local body politics because they don't give a shit, or because it doesn't really impact them and they'll only become engaged when the speed bump and the bus stop are put outside their house?
I think a lot of it is that people don't understand. They don't actually know. A lot of people do know and then choose not to engage as well. But like, let's say, for example, your rates bill, right? So let's say your rates bill comes out, it's $5,000. You live in a little one-bedroom apartment, but you're paying $5,000 in rates, and you think, man, that's a lot of money. I wish I could pay a little bit less. And then you look at what it's being spent on. Speed bump here, this and that. Planting a tree's $15,000. Obviously, you go down to the plant shop and buy a little tree for $10, and you dig a hole and put it in, and then charge council $15,000 or $20,000 for that. So you break
it was done lovingly.
Oh yeah,
and you had to have a karakia over it.
Well, exactly. They probably had 10 people stand around and sing some songs. But those people, they don't know. Oh, I can impact my rates bill by voting. Because have you ever noticed that not a single rates bill ever has anything about the elections? So I asked this 3 years ago. I says, why can't we promote the elections? It happens every 3 years. Promote the elections on the rates bill.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. That's...
no, that's frowned upon. No.
I had all sorts of... the Privacy Act. We're not allowed to send people information like that because it's under the
Privacy Act is used as an excuse so many times where it doesn't apply.
Yeah, what about every time we say, use the local swimming pool? Not every email that I send from my council email address has some propaganda at the bottom of it, right? So if I sent you an email from my council email, and I don't know what it says because it changes every week, but it would be the local swimming pool is cheap for under 3, or go to the local beach, or Christmas in the park. Whatever, I don't know, whatever they're advertising. Oh, the scraps, the food scraps. That was there for a few months, but I have got no control over that. I've asked the staff, hey, can I take that off? Because, it's propaganda, it's marketing on behalf of the council, and it doesn't necessarily reflect an email that I'm sending. Oh, no, I'd have to look into that. We don't know how to do it. Well, of course they know how to do it. I mean, they've
got a whole department that dreams these messages up.
Maybe they employ all these IT people that don't know. I mean...
Well, that food scraps one, seeing as you mentioned it, is total bollocks.
Do you know how much was spent marketing that?
How much?
It's about $4 million.
$4 million marketing it.
So that's bus stops, on the back of the bus, put your food scraps out. That guy with the butterfly, he had the wings on his back, holding the rubbish bin. He obviously had to be paid to take that photo.
But what planet are these bureaucrats on? Almost every house built today is built with what? A waste disposal, right? Food scraps in Auckland are non-existent. There's waste disposals in every household, just about.
I watched a mate of mine. He's like, oh, what's this little green, the green bin? And he picked it up. The handle was sticking up. And he picked it up like this, and he lifted the lid of his other bin, and he went like that. And he goes,
oh, no, they're bloody handy. Like if you've got a lot of different, a lot of boxes of, say, 22 ammo or something like that, you can just chuck them all in there.
Yeah.
And it's very handy to put them all in that. And then you can put that into an ammunition storage locker.
Yeah.
And it keeps it all the 22 ammo that's all there, or 9mm or 45.
How much 22 ammo do you need? I was thinking about how often I use mine. I'll probably go through about
It's not about
10
how
bullets
much
a
you
year.
need, right?
Oh, okay.
Right,
Yeah,
you
'cause this
never
is like
know.
prepping for a war or something.
No, you just never know. There might be a rabbit infestation.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you might need several thousand rounds.
So are you sort of one of those guys who goes, oh, rabbit, bang, I missed.
No, I don't miss.
How many bullets do you need for 10 rabbits?
10.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can get a couple,
Yeah.
depending on the ammunition I'm using, get a couple with one shot.
Yeah.
A shotgun
So
will
if
get
they're
it.
lined up.
Yeah.
I've
I've been known to shoot 2 goats at once with one shot.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, that's a legitimate purpose for a tool, right?
That's right.
But we've had a government that's come in and says, oh, it's a weapon, and it's anybody who owns land and has to have this tool for a legitimate purpose, for pest control or for humanely dispatching a sick animal, things like that. Every farmer in New Zealand got categorised as a terrorist or a criminal because we have a specific tool in our toolbox. It's really no different.
All because the police fucked up the licensing of an Australian.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. The police, the report into that clearly pointed out that the police had some shortcomings, but oh no, we were all smeared and attacked.
But what if because I'm thinking I do a bit of farming in that capacity over there, and I'm a tradie over here in this capacity, so I have a tool belt with a hammer on it, and a Stanley knife, and a doggy bar, and a tape measure.
Yeah.
So what if somebody gets high on P, they use a hammer and their tape measure to
all builders are murderers.
I mean, am I going to have a register for my Estwing hammer?
I think that's fair enough. Yeah.
Am I going to have to lodge a report for the police to say that I've bought a new hammer this year?
Yeah, and you've used 15 nails.
Yeah, and what if I lose my hammer? Do I need to go down to the police station and say
report it stolen?
Yeah, I've lost this dangerous tool because they've now.
Well, you've got those hammers now where they've got a little magnet on them. They can hold a nail on them. So the nails should be registered as well.
That would be a semi-automatic hammer, wouldn't it?
Yeah. well, I call my firearms either semi-automatic or bolt action or fully automatic, and I've got some fully automatic hole punches.
Hole punches?
Hole punches, yeah.
Yeah, they only got it shooting hole punches at...
they could put a hole in the target at 1,000 yards, some of them, But, so it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, and it is, and the fact that, the masses, the people, are not sort of seeing through some of these things that are, they're taken out of proportion.
See, I'm old enough to remember on Queen Street where you could park your car out the front of Tisdall's. Right.
So I don't even know where Tisdall's is.
It's gone.
I know where Sal's Pizza is on Queen Street.
Tisdall's used to be a sporting shop on Queen Street, very well known. You could buy guns there on Queen Street. And I often took in a gun for servicing with it over my shoulder on
Queen Street?
On Queen Street.
Could you imagine that today?
Catch the bus.
Yeah.
Right?
People would be screaming.
School kid catching the bus with a rifle and walking down Queen Street and going into Tisdall's and dropping it off, Yeah. No one ever blinked.
It never used to be an issue.
No. I mean, there used to be, bank officers not so long ago used to be issued with 38 special revolvers.
In New Zealand, for security.
Yeah. When I started working in the National Bank in Jeanbatten Place in the late 90s. Oh no, it might have been early 90s actually. Early 90s, it was because Jim Bolger won the election in 1990, so it was in the early 90s, and I worked with this crusty old guy who's probably dead now, but he used to light one cigarette off the next as he sat in his desk, right?
It's $2 a puff nowadays, but
but he would just light one cigarette off the next, sitting at his desk, and I had the desk opposite him, and one after the other, and he was telling me about the time when they had to go down, that he was on the list of bank officers that would go and get the money from the Reserve Bank, and they had this flat deck truck, and the flat deck truck. At the National Bank, and they would issue everybody with these revolvers, right? And they'd put the big thing of money onto the back of the flat deck truck. And
was it like a big bag or something? Was it?
No, like a chest.
Okay, yeah.
Right,
and then strapped down onto
the flat deck,
just like a bit of steel.
And then they'd sit on the back of the flat deck truck and drive around to the Reserve Bank with all these revolvers.
Wait, how long ago was that?
Well, he was still alive in the 90s, and he'd been in the bank for like 35 years. So, probably in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, wow, okay. I mean, that's something you just wouldn't even imagine now.
No.
When money's transported now, it's in a
armor guard van.
Yeah, and it's got like all these security cameras and.
But you can rob an armor guard van because they're not armed, right?
Mm.
So,
well, because I know this because I've got my firearms license, is that you are not allowed to use a firearm in New Zealand
for self-defense
at all. Like you could have a terrorist shooting at you, and you're not allowed to shoot back. Because if you shoot back, you go to jail.
Greg Carvel was in his shop, and this guy came in.
Is that the one with the machete?
With the machete,
yeah,
to rob the shop. And Greg had a 45 that was there, and he had a magazine that wasn't in the gun. And this guy was threatening the staff and actually got behind the counter, and so he shot him through a window. And the police prosecuted him, but he got off.
Okay.
It was a considerable stress and all of that, but he was being robbed by a guy with a machete intent on.
Yeah, but see that's the thing. In the law in New Zealand, it's not Texas. Texas, you just it is what it is.
Well, Texas is an open carry state as well.
But in New Zealand, he's broken the law by
shooting him,
using it in self-defense. Really, because what the law requires him to have done is to wait until everyone's been sliced up with the machete, and then the police arrive after the fact. That's what the law requires.
Yeah, we don't have castle doctrine laws or anything like that in New Zealand. They talk about it being a privilege to own firearms. Well, actually, it's a right. If you're a fit and proper person, you have a right to own firearms. And it's not a privilege. And they mistake that, and they say it every time. It's a privilege to own firearms. And the thing is that the police are using firearms all the time routinely, and they're not even licensed. And they're barely trained.
I've heard a lot of them are just for show. There might be 10 cops with the M16, but only, maybe 3 or 4 of them are licensed. So only 3 or 4 of them have ammo.
All of them are licensed, right? But they've all can carry them because they're police officers, and there's an exemption from the Firearms Act for police to carry firearms if it's in the course of their duties. But I know of police that have got Glock 17s, and the magazine holds 17 rounds, and you can put one up the spout as well, so 18 rounds. They only carry 6 rounds in the magazines because they're too heavy. I kid you not. That is exactly what some police have told me, that they only carry 6 or 7 rounds in the magazine because a full magazine's too heavy.
But they don't carry the guns full time. They only...
No, I know.
They only have it for a few minutes out of...
Do you know how often they train with those pistols?
Well, it's probably not enough.
At best once a year.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've got a pistol license in New Zealand, you have to go to the range 12 times a year, minimum. Minimum 12 times a year, once a month. And enter competitions and participate in the club and stuff like that.
It's kind of like the police are allowed to break the speed limit.
Yeah.
And there are some restrictions around that. And, that's one of the things that I argue with quite often is, if I'm driving at 83 and there's a police officer going the other way, they're allowed to then travel at 150 to catch up to me doing 83. I said, hold on. And then they give you a speech. Oh, you're driving dangerously. I was like, yeah, but I was doing 83 and you were doing 150.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just, I guess the deeper we go down that track is the more that we're going to get frustrated about certain things where it's them and us, isn't it? But
it is them and us. The police have made it that way, and particularly if you're a firearms owner, they created an atmosphere of a them and us situation. Before, the firearms community would help the police. They would assist the police. They would talk to them regularly. After Tarrant went on his spree, the police turned it into a them and us situation.
Well,
Where
Jacinda did that.
Jacinda did, but her chosen commissioners, Mike Bush, and also
It was a cousin, wasn't it?
No, he's not. It's just rubbish.
Oh, is that only speculation?
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You see, of course it's a cousin.
What?
No, it's not.
What
They're
about
not
the
even
nanny?
related.
Is that factual or is that?
I don't know about that. I don't want to be.
Well, I mean, that's the most important.
I don't want Linda Clark fucking ringing me up and suing me. Who knows,
Yeah.
But old Jethro, that's what I like to call him because he looks like Jethro out of the
NCIS.
No, Jethro from the Clampets,
No, it's just,
you're too young. You don't understand.
Well,
That was black and white TV, mate.
black and white TV. I grew up with colour TV.
Yeah.
We had cell phones when I was at school.
You are young. And I went to school. We didn't have phones, but we all knew how to tap a phone box. So,
Yeah, what's a phone book?
phone box.
Oh, phone box.
Yeah.
Do you know what a fax machine is?
Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing because, it wasn't that long ago. If you wanted to send a letter, you'd have to drop it in a box and then it would go by horse and, whatever. And it might take 3 weeks. Whereas now, from our phones in our pocket, we can send an email,
text.
video call, all of these things that,
Snapchat.
And in one generation too. It's not something that's happened over a long amount of time. It's happened very, very quickly.
Yeah, I can remember when Dad got a computer. The first computer he brought it back from Japan. He went up there on business. Oh, here we go. It's my job to make it work.
Oh,
He had no idea. We've got to have a computer.
That's kind of like Steve Jobs.
Well, Dad used telexes. You've probably never heard of a telex.
No.
Telexes were before faxes, and they used to you'd send shorthand messages. Unless I learnt one off Dad and he said you used to send a message to someone.
Is it where it had like a ribbon?
A ribbon with holes in it.
Yeah, I've seen that in the old school movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a telex machine.
Yeah.
And it'd go chicka and ssend all these messages.
I thought it was just like spies had them, but so anybody could have one.
Yeah, so they'd send a message to somebody that they were, agree terms, letter following or something like that. That's really short because it cost an absolute fortune. And then they'd write, type up a letter on the old IBM golf ball typewriter, put it in the post and send it. But he said often you wanted to tell somebody off or whatever, and you're really angry at the time, so you just telex them. And you'd say, and you'd put this short message and then you'd put RLF on the end of it. It meant rude letter following.
Oh, yes. Funny. Eh?
But it's considerably changed. Those things used to cost a fortune, telex machines and
it used to be, for me, it was 20 cents per text message, right? So and then it was only a limited amount of characters. So if you went over the 50 characters or something, then it was 2 text messages. It was 40 cents. And now it's you just pay a monthly fee, and you can do whatever you want. But I'm just trying to think how many hours you had to work to send one message.
But you think about the council, right? How much paper it generates. And it still generates paper because you go to, I don't know, have you got iPads and you can get all of the papers for the next meeting? But everybody prints them out, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's actually really hard to print stuff now. So for me, I have to email it to my own computer and then print it on my own printer, because there's a way to do it, but the IT people make it really, really hard. But if I have to print something at the office, I have to email it to my PA, and then she will have to print it because my computer can't send, because the IT people didn't set it up for me. That's how ridiculous it is because they say, we've got to save the trees.
Fuck the trees. We planted the forest to make paper. Fuck the trees.
The problem is that I don't trust the system because you know how I told you just before they edit the minutes afterwards. Yeah. Whereas if I've printed it out, the only way for them to change that is for them to break into my house, take the bit of paper that I printed and replace it with another bit of paper.
Don't give them ideas, mate.
No, but at the moment, all they need to do is open up their laptop, type a couple of things, and then whatever's on the minutes, or it's a legal document, has been changed. And that's happened on multiple occasions. Yet when I ask them about it, they go, "Oh, sorry about that. It was just a mistake,
Editing mistake."
Oh, the person doing it did
the recordings weren't that clear.
So now we've moved to recording our meetings. So there's a video file.
Yeah.
It's not published. It's not easy to find unless you've got the link, right? Because it's on YouTube, but you can't search on YouTube. You have to have the link. It's like private. Yeah. But at least that file is there. So when those disputes happen now, I can go back to the video and say, hey, look, let's watch this 8 minutes of the meeting and get confirmation of what happened at the meeting and what we voted on is.
But how many councillors do that? How many board members do that? Fuck all, eh?
Yeah.
It's one,
yeah.
you.
Yeah, me. Yeah, that's it. And we've got multiple different people around the room. Some of them are just there for the paycheck. Some of them are there because they want to build speed bumps. Some of them are there because they just want to counter me, no matter what I do. But some of them are really good, genuine people that are there for what they should be there for, and that is trying to get better outcomes for the community that we represent.
Yeah, for the rates that we pay.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like it's just so much wastage, but they make it really hard for us to. So, like when I ask for a breakdown of that $600,000, they just say, "Oh, $600,000 was spent." So that's not a breakdown. Or we've got another project, $710,000 has been spent. So, can I get a breakdown? And they go, well, $350,000 was internal staff costs, and the other $360,000 was external consultants. I says, that's not a breakdown.
No, it's nuts. I mean, I've long advocated for when you pay taxes or when you pay rates or things like that, you get a rates assessment or whatever that says of this amount. This much goes to roading, this much goes to parks, this much goes to... But they don't do that.
No, that does come out with some rates, but I have seen it. But what they miss out on that is the interest. So before you can even spend money on the roads, you've got to pay the interest bill, So I think it works out to be $1 million a day or something like that.
Yeah, I had up Michael Bassett about that because he passed the legislation that gave general competence to councils.
Yeah.
And general competence to councils means that you can borrow money, which they've done with gay abandon, right? And you got Auckland Council that's borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and keeps borrowing and is now at the limits of what they can borrow. And then the people go, oh, this is an austerity budget. Fuck off.
If we only borrowed money for the right things, it would be okay. And you can't go and buy a house. I mean, the average person can't go and buy a house without a mortgage.
Yeah.
Some people can, for whatever reason they make a lot of money at the start of their life. But generally we need debt for those big purchases, So whether that be the City Rail link, $6 billion for
Well, they said it was only going to be 1.5.
Oh no. But everybody
but whoever gets held accountable for that?
Well, they've gone because all of those elected people had gone. Well, there's a couple, old relics hanging around, but they come in, they know it's going to cost $6 billion, but they go, well, we can't get that approved, so let's take some stuff off. Let's maybe only put one station in, start the project. Oh, now we've spent $1.5 billion. Oh, we've committed
sunk
to
cost
it
fallacy.
And then next thing you know, you're up at 2.5. Oh, we've spent 2.5. We might as well keep going.
Yeah.
Right. Knowing full well that there was no way it would get approved or accepted or anybody would thought it was a good idea had we have been up front, had council been up front, that it was going to be $6 billion. Everybody would have said at the start, don't do it.
And they all say it'll be up and running before X, right?
Yeah,
but you take that 3.5 kilometres of road between OTR and Constellation that we talked about earlier.
It's close to $1 billion for that, hey?
Close to $1 billion for 3.5 kilometres of road.
Yeah.
And it took them 6 years to build it.
Yeah.
6 years.
Crazy.
It's ass backwards.
Yeah.
It should take a year and cost a quarter of that.
I see this meme that pops up on Facebook all the time. This massive big sinkhole in Japan.
Yeah.
And then the big hole appears. Obviously there was a faulty pipe underneath and everything got sucked out. But 2 days later, they'd fixed the pipe, filled it in. The road was asphalted. The lines were painted back after 2 days.
Now we'd have We had that in Parnell, remember? If you remember in Parnell?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for 6 months there was this massive bump where they had these pipes running across the surface of the road.
Yeah.
Just insane.
And, you think about all the millions of litres of human turds that flowed out because the pipe failed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, but then one farmer has one cow that breaks out of the paddock and goes to shit in the river.
Oh, no, calamity.
Oh, yeah, no, the
But-
armed defender squads come in for that.
Yeah, and then we'll have a rahui as well on the mussels and things like that. It's
Yeah.
just bullshit.
Well, we've got an issue at the moment up at the Maharangi Harbour, which is part of
Yeah.
Rodney that I'm elected to. And we've known about this problem for a long time, and Watercare has finally started doing something. So credit to them, because they are finally putting some measures in place to stop the overflows, which is really good. And there's going to be a permanent solution end of next year. So we've just got another year of some overflows. But we've got these oyster farms that are all consented. They've paid a lot of money to have their consent renewed,
Yep.
and that'll happen in the last 3 years. They've all had to renew their, and they might be 150, 200,000 each by the time they pay a consultant.
Yeah, that's just for the permits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Then there's all the infrastructure, and you've got multi-million dollar
exactly.
businesses that are being affected through council intransigence.
Yeah. So there's all these issues, but regardless if you've got an oyster farm in the harbour, we don't want human turds in any harbour or any river.
I think we all agree on that. This is where I argue with the greenies. They say we've got to ban this, ban that. And look, we all want clean air. We all want green fields and forests. We all want clean rivers and harbours and lakes and things like. We all agree on that. The only thing we're arguing about now is how we do that.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
they think one cow is an issue because it broke out of the paddock, but then millions and millions of litres of human turds out into the Waitemata Harbour is okay. Where's the
every
logic in
time
that?
there's a big storm, there's sewer overflows.
Even a few mils of rain, we have overflow points.
Yeah.
And then it's okay because it's an engineered overflow point.
Oh, right.
But could you imagine the dairy farmer saying, oh, look, really tough week, whatever the case may be, and we had some cows break out of a paddock and then they shit in the wrong place. It hasn't happened in the last 5 years. Can you give us a break? Oh, no way.
Oh, no. We've got people with clipboards that have been waiting for this.
Yeah. They're all lined up at the gate,
They're like locusts. They just descend on the farm to suck the life out of it.
But I say this, right? So show me a farm where you wouldn't drink out of the trough. Generally, the trough water comes out of the rivers and creeks and stuff, right? So show me a farm where you wouldn't go and swim in the river and drink out of the river, right? Show me a farm that you wouldn't do that. And then show me in the city, in Auckland City, a waterway or a harbour that you would swim at. Not drink it, just swim at, right? Because I don't want to swim at any Auckland harbour or any Auckland waterway. But, I go to my friend's farm, and on my farm when I had one, I would happily drink. You'd be 20 minutes down the paddock. It's 20 minutes to go up to the house for a drink of water, or you drink it out of the creek.
Yeah.
Or drink it out of the creek. I'm perfectly fine.
Or the trough.
Yeah, so, but that's the logic, eh? So they've got this clean green farm. Maybe one cow broke out every 5 years is an issue, but then millions of litres of human turds is not an issue for the same people that think that that's an issue.
I guess a summary of how council works is the things that are important, they don't do well. And the things that are unimportant, they're on it like white on rice.
Oh, yeah.
And as an elected member, that's what you're battling up against all the time.
Yeah, we spend more time arguing about a $2,000 nothing expense versus $8 million. We've got an $8 million contract.
You're part of the system now.
I know.
Right?
And we go around the room and I'm like, well, hold on, I want to know some more information about this. Is $8 million. Oh, no, we've hashed this out. And I'm like, but I have some questions. Oh, no, we're moving on. Because all it takes is 5 people or a majority vote. And in our case, we've got 9, so 5 is a majority. 5 people to say, we're moving on. It doesn't matter if I've got questions or not. 5 people say we're moving on. But then we got $2,000. We're like, oh, should we make it $1,500 instead of $2,000? We spent half an hour arguing about it.
Yeah, and there's all the collective time of you guys.
Well, yeah, our time is worth more than some of these arguments we have.
Oh, well, we need more people like you in council that'll just start banging heads.
Yeah,
Anyway, we've used up an hour and a half of time, vital council time.
Yeah.
But it's been great chatting to you, and thanks for coming on the Good Oil podcast.
No worries, mate. Yeah, cheers.
No, we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, we'll see how things go, mate.
Well, maybe you're going to stand for Parliament next.
Hey, that's not out. It's not off the cards. It's I set out. There's a mission I set out doing this to get our roads safe to drive on again.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I haven't been able to achieve that goal yet.
Transport Minister, Geoff Upson, Transport Minister.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Hey, now welcome to the show, where the wind's blowing strong and the truth can flow. This is the good oil. Catch a vibe today with Cam Slater leading us all the way.